we see that it was God's hand in Joseph's exile to Egypt, not his brothers. After his father's death, later on, he tells his brothers, because they were very afraid that he was going to kill him, he reassures them with these words in Genesis 50. But as for you, you meant evil against me, but God meant it for good, in order to bring it about, as it is this day, to save many people alive. Now therefore, do not be afraid. I will provide for you and your little ones. And he comforted them and spoke kindly to them. Did Joseph think that his brothers acted independently from God? Maybe when he was initially in the pit and later walking as a slave, but not now. Listen to Paul's words in 2 Corinthians 12, 7 through 10. And lest I should be exalted above measure by the abundance of the revelations, a thorn in the flesh was given to me, a messenger of Satan to buffet me, lest I be exalted above measure. Twice he says that. Concerning this thing I pleaded with the Lord 3 times, that it might depart from me. He said to me, my grace is sufficient for you, for my strength is made perfect in weakness. Therefore most gladly will I rather boast in my infirmities, that the power of Christ may rest upon me. Therefore I take pleasure in infirmities, and reproaches, and needs, and persecutions, and distresses, for Christ's sake. For when I am weak, then I am strong. Paul realizes his physical affliction humbled him, and actually made him stronger in the Lord. And he took pleasure in his suffering. Romans 8:28. We know that all things work together for good, to those who love God, to those who are the called according to his purpose. As children of God, we must rest in him, knowing it's all good. No reason to worry. So, God is in control of bad situations as well. And furthermore, if the outcome is good, are these situations really bad? No. On April 13th, exactly 4 months after we learned our boy was going to die, we found that his heart had stopped. He had so much hoped and prayed to be able to hold him, to see him open his eyes, to hear him cry, but that was not in God's plan. We had planned on the photo session with Kristen on the following week. She graciously rescheduled it for us the next morning. We have seen the beautiful shots of Jen's belly and our family. They're very precious memories. We went into the hospital that evening to induce labor. We chose for Jen to receive an epidural to minimize the physical pain in anticipation of the pending great emotional pain. Our prayer was that the labor would go quickly and smoothly. We also asked God to minimize the damage to Noah's delicate body. Our prayers were answered, but not in the way we were hoping. Less than 12 hours after the inducing process had begun, little Noah was born. It went quickly and smoothly, but we were expecting him to be around 3 pounds, with anencephaly as his only flaw. But he did not look like the sweet baby boy we were expecting. He was very small and had some other deformities. We decided not to allow our kids to see him and hold him. The next passage is actually in your programs. Psalms 139, 13-16. For you formed my inward parts, you covered me in my mother's womb. I will praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Marvelous are your works, and my soul knows very well. My frame was not hidden from you, when I was made in secret and skillfully wrought in the lowest parts of the earth. Your eyes saw my substance, being yet unformed, and in your book they are all written. The days fashioned for me, when as yet there were none of them. Everyone, no matter how disabled or deformed, can claim this passage. We are all made in the image of God, with no mistakes. In Exodus 4:11, Moses has tried to back out of God's command to speak to Pharaoh, and God sets him straight. So the Lord said to him, "Who has made man's mouth? Who makes the mute, the deaf, the seeing, or the blind? Have not I, the Lord? It is not just the mute, the deaf, and the blind. You should take comfort that a good God has made them this way. But anyone who has any flaws, whether it's hidden, like a deviated septum, or more obvious, like the inability to use your legs, this is for anyone." One last verse. 1 Peter 4:12. "Beloved, do not think it strange concerning the fiery trial which is to try you, as though some strange thing happened to you. But rejoice to the extent that you partake of Christ's sufferings, that when his glory is revealed, you may also be glad with exceeding joy." We often view sufferings and hardships as something to avoid. But then, we would really be missing a huge part of how God's hand moves in our lives. Those of you who know Livy, she's a precious girl who loves to be silly and goofy, and she takes great pride in that. But sometimes she says some very profound things. She's very insightful. She watched Zach Smith's video more than 5 times. You really need to check it out. So later on, in the minivan, some days later I believe, one of the kids said, as kids often do very bluntly, "Noah's going to die." Livy said, "If Noah lives with us forever, God is good. But if Noah dies, God is still good." As of now, Jen and I have learned a few things. God is in charge of conception. Children are a gift from God. We really appreciate our kids even more, you know? They are precious. Hardships and sufferings, they strengthen our faith. They develop patience. And they create a greater reliance on God. Additionally, we've learned that we need to be giving up our own plans and purposes to God. Lastly, God is a good Father. He always gives good gifts to his children, even when they don't feel good.